Candace Owens and Jason Lee have a very intense conversation on things like Black Lives Matter, religion, politics, social issues. And let's just say Candace Owens held nothing back, okay? She did an absolute great job in this entire conversation, which I want to show you. Now, this conversation is on Zeus Network only, but someone on TikTok actually recorded this entire conversation. So what we're going to do is watch as much of this as we can until I just simply can't watch any of it anymore. All right, let's go ahead and hop into this video, watch it and react to it. Before we do me a quick favor. Hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm so that this video can reach more people like yourself. I truly appreciate you guys. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and tap that subscribe button and let's hop into this video right now. Now, I'm definitely going to give the lady her credit for recording this entire thing. So her TikTok information is going to be in the description if you want to follow her for any other future videos that she shows or any topics that she talks about. All right, but let's go ahead and hop into this video.
Now, before the video, you were a Democrat?
No, that's one of the rumors. I've never voted Democrat my entire life.
Okay.
I always say I was liberal because I just thought I had to be liberal. And so if I had voted, I wasn't really politically inclined, I would have voted for Democrats. And I definitely cried the night Barack Obama won. So people have taken that and been like, oh, she switched up for the money. I'm like, because I didn't even vote. I didn't grow up in a family that we were discussing politics at the dinner table, you know?
You weren't a Democrat, but you skewed liberal.
Yeah, okay. For sure. I'm from Connecticut. Grew up, born in New York, raised in Connecticut. These are blue cities. And I think most people when they're younger are liberal. I think just in general, if you meet someone who's 18 years old, they're going to skew to the left. So I don't think any of that was unusual. The first time I ever voted, I voted Republican. So I will be a lifelong Republican if, you know, I shouldn't say that because who knows who the people are that are running. But yeah, I've never voted Democrat.
So when you were a liberal,
the video's a little sped up. I think she did that on her end. I couldn't find a way to speed it down without it being terribly distorted. But what she said about that is absolutely true. I also was very liberal when I was younger. Now I'm 29 years old and I am leaning more conservative. I am not a true Republican. I tell people that all the time, but I do tend to lean towards more conservative values and beliefs. And that's just based off of my faith and my life and things that I like to, you know, see accomplished in the world. But I don't agree with everything that Republicans do. I don't think anybody should agree on everything someone does or anything a party does. So let's continue on.
What issues did you believe in then?
Feminism, for sure, until I took a feminism class. I probably was, definitely was way more, at the time, when I grew up, it was just LGB, so it was a different time. I don't need to make myself sound like a dinosaur.
You're not that old.
But we didn't have LGBTQIA plus WMZRS, so it was just LGB. And I was supportive of that, so it was like all of these issues, on the social issues, I was definitely, I would say, left-leaning. But I would have always been a fiscal conservative. Like I don't think he would have gotten me to thinking that we should be paying for people to have abortions and all things of that nature. I was also pro-choice. I was definitely pro-choice. I'm not
even as a
liberal anymore. As a liberal, I was, yeah. Okay. So now I'm pro-life. So that's something that's changed pretty dramatically, I would say.
Okay. So let's go back to the days where there was LGBT. LGBT, but you're 35.
Yeah.
So I'm 47. There were definitely trans back when I was a 6-year-old because I met one, but we didn't know what trans was. I mean, you know, over the evolution, because I'm definitely into LGBT. You know that.
I mean, yeah.
Don't play with me. Lil Boosie was literally sitting right there.
Breaking news.
Lil Boosie was actually sitting right there where he said he knew I was gay the whole time. I said, well, I think I passed as gay. But anyway, LGBT, there was always T. I think people just weren't exposed to it. You weren't exposed to transsexuals in Connecticut?
Okay, so I would say that even that's changed. Like there used to be a difference between people that like to dress up and people that wanted to like get procedures to become something else. I did not know anybody that was like down with, like I want to get boobs and get surgery and get my parts removed and identified. No, I definitely didn't know any of that.
So let me ask you.
I would have thought like drag queens were.
There were drag
that's
queens.
That's what I mean.
I met Sparkle at the age of 6.
Yeah.
Bad drag queen.
That's crazy.
So now that we live in a world where transsexual is a thing, what is your opposition to it? Like, why do you care if somebody has a penis or not, or boobs or not?
Well, my biggest opposition to it, just to start, would be this insistence that we allow children to think that they can pick and choose their genders. That's definitely a psychosis. Like, this was not a thing. People were not struggling in kindergarten. We were not arguing about bathrooms. Like, this is all just made up. The majority of the bathrooms we were growing up didn't even say male or female. Like, when you were on the plane right now, it just says bathroom. And now they are, like, demanding spaces and things of that nature, which tells you that it's, like, it's a social phenomenon. It's not actually something that's real, because you can't just snap your fingers and tell me that now this problem is everywhere and it just didn't exist in the 90s. So the biggest issue, just
in terms of the evolution of the rights and all that.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it an evolution. I'd probably call it, I think it's devolved in many ways, because people don't, like, they just can't answer basic questions like, what is a woman? That's pretty stupid, right? That's actually really stupid. And now all of a sudden, I don't know.
But don't you think some would argue that, I mean, I know people hate to there's so much you just said that we have to unpack, but I'm going to just go back to this. Don't you think that there's people that would say that about us as black people, that there was a time where we weren't sitting at the same counters, we weren't using the same bathrooms, we weren't able to go in the same doors, we didn't have the same rights, we were seen as less than human. I mean, I think...
It's not about less than human, I just don't think they exist. Like
No, I'm saying in terms of black people.
Well, you're talking about, right now you're conflating being black, which is like, obviously you're born black, you know what I mean? That's not something that I have to basically try to convince you that like, no, this is real, this person, look at the color of his skin. It's like, yeah, obviously we have different races, it's very obvious this person is black. On the trans stuff, you're asking me to be crazy. You're asking me to look at a grown man and imagine that he's actually a woman, and that if he goes and gets work done, that he magically becomes a woman. So it's insanity. And definitely let's not conflate it with being black. Otherwise, you'd have to defend Rachel Dolezal.
For those of you that do not know who Rachel Dolezal is, she was a woman that said that she was black. She had got her, makeup done and hair done, and she got all kind of different things to make herself look like she was African American, but she was not. I don't know if she had any actual procedures done, but she was absolutely Caucasian, and she also led the NAACP, and she was Caucasian. And so that is what she's saying. She wanted to be black, but she was telling everyone she was black. She felt like it, but she absolutely wasn't. It's the same as someone who is a man and feels like a woman and does procedures to look like a woman, but you're still a man at the end of the day. And that to call you that and to treat you as something that you're not is absolutely crazy that we have to do that. And I agree with her. Even if it sounds harsh, it is the truth. It's not meant to be harsh, but it's the truth. I agree.
Well, there's no defending crazy. That's crazy. But
why is that crazy?
Hold on. Because she was a white woman that said she was black.
Yeah, that's a man saying.
But let's back up. I don't think that anybody grows up wanting to be discriminated against, wanting to have feelings, or wanting to have identity where they know they're going to bring that type of adverse reaction. Do you think gay people grow up gay or are born gay, or that's an evolution?
Genuinely, I just am trying to get you pinned down here on how you can say that, but not acknowledge Rachel Dolezal. If we're talking about the trans issue, she's transracial. So give her respect. Put respect
Explain
in her name.
to me how.
Because on the inside she felt black. She was dressing like she was black. She was making her skin darker like she was black. She was standing for the black cause. She was working for the NAACP. It just happened to be that she was, born a white girl with blonde hair and freckles. And it only became problematic when somebody exposed it. And people said, no, you can't just be black. Why not? If you're gonna say that a man can just be a woman, why can't Rachel Dolezal just be black? You got to be consistent.
Because she's white.
Okay, because it's a man.
No, but hold on. I get it.
I'm right.
I get it.
I'm right.
No, I don't agree. And this is not a matter of right or wrong.
But it is.
Hold on.
This one is.
Let me tell you. Two truths. One thing can be true, right? Two things can be true. You can put a lipstick on a pig and it can still be a pig. You can call it whatever you want. Yeah. You can call it bacon. You can call it a side meal. It's still a pig. So right. I'm not saying right or wrong. And we're too early into the conversation to get into who's right or wrong, because there's a lot to get into. But it's a matter of perception, a matter of experience. Like, I can't tell you what it's like to be a black woman. You can't tell me what it's like to be a black man. You can't tell me how it feels to be biracial. You can't tell me how it feels to be gay. I can't tell you how it feels to be straight. Because we all have our own lived experiences. I guess what I'm trying to unpack is why you believe the transsexuals experience is not one that deserves to be validated.
Yeah, and I'm similarly trying to unpack why you don't believe Rachel Dolezal's lived experience is one that should.
No, I do. I understand, and that's the conflation where you're trying to unpack one topic by putting up another. But we can't ask why a rhinoceros isn't an elephant. We're talking about an elephant. And the elephant in the room is that you have a skewed perception, in my opinion, about a transsexual's experience. And I'm simply asking, why do you feel like it doesn't deserve to be validated if that's how the person feels? Because you know what you guys do, and I'm saying you guys that have strong opinions.
I just have one person sitting here.
These strong opinions. No, it's people that you represent, because you have very strong opinions. And what happens when it comes to the LGBT community is you'll conflate pedophilia by using children and gay, which are two different things.
I'm not conflating here. Your argument is that if someone who is not clearly being born with a penis, for example, decides that in their lived experience, actually, no, they should have had a vagina, and so they're going to start living like they have a vagina and getting cosmetic procedures like they have a vagina, that suddenly I should respect that. I'm saying, okay, keep it consistent and say the exact same thing about Rachel Dolezal. You hesitate there. For some reason, you don't want to do that. And so, exactly. So you have to keep it ideologically consistent. That's all I'm saying. But I'm saying to you, I'm consistent. Rachel is not a black woman, and a trans person can't just wake up one day and decide to be a woman. A man can't wake up one day and decide to be a woman because of lived experience. I'm sorry that I'm consistent, but you have to figure out why you're not.
You should never force someone to validate a lie. Simply, you can't force people to validate a lie as if it's the truth. We shouldn't have to do that. So someone says, you have to call me a woman and you're absolutely a man. I don't have to call you a woman. If I did, yeah, it would be validating how you feel, but then I would be contributing to the lie. And I just simply don't want to contribute to that lie. No disrespect. That's just the way it is. If I told you to call me Barack Obama, but I'm not him, you're not going to do it just to make me feel better about calling me the first black president. You're not going to do it. And so, we don't have to validate lies. And it's a lie to call a man a woman if you were born a man.
explanation because he was actually born your color and died a little lighter than me. So that's different.
Michael Jackson died a black man.
No, of course, I agree with that. That's what I'm saying. The difference, though, in terms of Rachel Dolezal, she's a white woman that decided that she was going to be black one day.
Going to kill you.
But wait, no, they're not.
Yes, they are, because I'm making a lot of sense.
Let me say this. I think people are going to watch this and go, I understand where she's coming from, and they're going to watch this and go, I understand where she's coming from, because they will. It's not an exchange.
He lying. He capping. Don't nobody understand where he coming from. Everyone understands where Candace is coming from because she's saying the truth. Just how it is. We don't agree with you because you are trying to appeal to a certain audience. They might get upset about the information, but it's the truth. You can't say it's a lie.
Doesn't make any sense, right?
The only thing you reference with the trans person not being validated is whether they have a penis, and their sexual orientation is not based on their body part.
Okay, so why isn't Rachel Dolezal black?
Because she's a white woman.
Okay, because it's a male or it's a female. That's it. And no matter how many procedures Rachel Dolezal gets, or how much makeup she pounds on her face, or how much she kinks her hair, no matter what, okay, even if she presents and she fully looks like she's a black woman,
even if she gets the Kim Kardashian
even
BBL,
if she gets the Kim Kardashian BBL, everything that she wants to get, she's still going to be and die a white woman. And that's the same for the transgender people. You can get all the cosmetic procedures that you want. You can talk about your lived experience on a mic. You can stand up. At the end of the day, if you were born a man, you're dying a man, and that's it. You got to deal with that in your own personal time. It's not up for me to help you work through those psychological issues, and that's just how it has to be right now.
But what about people who say that? Let's conflate again, because you brought up Rachel Dolezal race. That you as a black woman, no matter you having a white husband, having black and white kids, speaking all this rhetoric, you'll still, be equivalent to what do they call us, monkeys, or an animal, or subhuman, because we're who they think we are.
That's just not true. I'm not actually
not true.
But I'm not calling a person who's born a male saying that you're going to die a male. It's not the same as saying to a person who's a human, you're going to die a monkey, which is a different species.
But you think people have looked?
Just because she's married to a white man and has mixed kids does not mean that Candace Owens wants to be white. And that seems like what he's trying to imply, saying you will always be less than, to certain people. But Candace Owens has never came out and said that she wanted to be white. And I think she's proud to be who she is. I'm proud to be black. I love my skin. I love the person that I am. And so, yeah, I think that's just crazy.
Looked at us our whole lives as
that's just name calling. That's silly. And I've not denigrated anybody and said that you're not a human. I'm just telling you because unfortunately a lot of people when you get out in the world are going to lie to you to make you feel good. And I'm just not here to run the world like it's a kindergarten classroom. I don't really care about your feelings. These are the facts. Now, that doesn't mean that it warrants people to be mean to you, to call you names. I view it as a form of suffering, if I'm being honest with you. I couldn't imagine waking up every day and wanting to be something that I'm not. And now you've got people that are saying they're trans animals, people that are saying that
that's a thing.
That is not a thing. I swear to you.
It's trans animal.
Yes, there are people that think that they're cats and dogs. It's a thing now. And that's when the slope gets slippery. This is what happens when you give a mouse a cookie. Have you ever read that book? I got a lot of titles. When you give a mouse a cookie, they want the glass of milk. Slippery slope, right? So you got to start and say, guess what, mouse? You're not getting the cookie. You're a man. Okay, that's it. And like a man, take it like a man. Okay, if you want to dress up like a woman, whatever you want at the end of the day, you're a man.
But I can understand we were talking about Bruce Jenner or Caitlyn. That I understand applies only. And here's what I will only agree.
Just bring yourself to me, and the king will tell you whether or not you're allowed to be.
No, because I feel like Caitlyn transitioned at some point. Caitlyn was Bruce, and then now Caitlyn's Caitlyn. But then sometimes if you catch her on the right day, you know what I mean? It's confusing. So I understand.
Caitlyn's a man.
Caitlyn is Caitlyn.
Caitlyn is a man, a biological
Caitlyn
man.
What? Actually, Bruce.
What?
Anyway.
No, that's it. That's because you're not wiping your record. You just live as a whole different person.
No, Bruce killed somebody on the PCH, and then when Caitlyn, Bruce transitioned to Caitlyn had a clean record because Caitlyn was not in the car. Bruce was. But look, I know I'm confused you. Let's go back to the trans animal thing. Is that really a thing?
The tea is piping hot.
Is trans animal really a thing?
Yes, and that's why you got to call the crazy. Okay, so if you start playing the crazy game, you never stop playing the crazy game. So I never started playing the crazy game, and people just got to toughen up. And I feel for you. If you want to be a woman, you can't be a woman. I'm sitting here pregnant. You don't get the right to come out here and tell me that you're a woman. This is my fourth kid. Okay, you don't even this is not even something that I'm going to debate right now. Okay, this is just not going to debate it. You just don't get to decide in front. And it's also, by the way, incredibly insulting the idea that you get to be a woman just because you got some boobs in the list. There's something very denigrating about that to women. It's basically saying anyone can be you. It's just a costume. Like being a woman is not a costume. It's not a costume. It's just not.
First of all, some of you don't even do it well. I mean, I know a lot of women that don't have lips, that don't have that can't have kids, that and those some that do have uteruses that probably shouldn't. But that's not because of my opinion as a man. It's my opinion.
Because that's not what makes a woman. That's the whole point. It's
so what makes a woman?
You think that you have to have lips and boobs to be a woman?
No, but what makes a woman a woman?
Well, we could start at the very beginning. We could talk about why can the doctor tell you? Why do I know that I have a male in my stomach right now? Why are they able to do that? Mm-hmm. Right? We're talking. We can go back to X and Y.
There's a lot of women that are.
I'm just saying, why are they even able to give you a gender test and tell you what are they looking for?
A healthy woman can have children. A woman that cannot have children there's something wrong. It's not normal, and there's something wrong. And so the organs don't lie. You're born with female organs, male organs that are functional. You're born with different chromosomes, XY, XX. You have traits that are indistinguishable for women and men. You cannot, it's very easy to tell a man from a woman. And there's even, I've seen, PT people that, you have to actually look at them like, nah, that looks like a man. But it's like, yeah, we know, man. It's really crazy. It's insane how we are even at this point where it's a battle to tell, someone they're either a woman or a man. And, it's insane, man. It's crazy.
We're just literally different. Biologically, we are two different species.
So do you believe
and so it's not a behavior. It's like this person, and even if you say, okay, some women can't have children, that means something has gone wrong. In a perfect world, every woman has a womb and therefore can have a child. Things can go wrong, of course, but it doesn't change the rules. It doesn't mean like suddenly, well, that means a man can be a woman. That's crazy.
Listen, the trans argument is a easy argument to have because there's so much around the trans movement. I mean, like, I know the comments and I know a lot of people are going to agree with it. There's a lot of women a lot of cis women.
They're going to be like, give Rachel Dolezal her flowers.
Do you like being called cis
No,
woman?
it's an insult. I'm just a woman. Why don't you call yourself something else? Because how about you call yourself not a woman? You know what I mean? The whole reason why you're calling yourself transgender is because you recognize that you're not what I am. So why are you calling yourself what I am ever? Like, it was recognized up until literally the last 2 years when I was in school. Again, I'm a dinosaur, so we only had LGB and we also had the DSM-5. And in the diagnostic manual, it recognized that.
I remember this.
Yeah, it recognized it as a mental disorder. Obviously, your mental and your physical are out of order, so that makes sense. And that, by the way, people have tons of mental issues. I want to be clear. People have bipolar, schizophrenia. There's so many things that people have, and that's fine. But in no world, if I had someone who was schizophrenic or had a personality disorder who was trying to tell me that I had to address them like they were a dog, would I get on 4 knees and go, woof, woof? Okay? You having a mental issue does not get to become my mental issue. That's not a demand that I can meet. So, no.
I don't think a trans person has a mental issue.
I do, because, and not only I learned it in school. I learned it in school, and everyone agreed, because if your brain and your body are out of order, that's literally a mental disorder, and there's tons of them, like I said.
But Candace, there's people that may look at.
Okay, so I once heard from this Christian rapper named Bizzle. He said, and I'm going to just paraphrase because I don't remember exactly how he said it, but he said, if someone says that they're a different person, if they're a different person in that same body, we call that schizophrenia. If someone says that they are a different sex in the same body, a different gender in the same body, then we call that regular. We call that someone who understands their true self. And we don't say that it's a mental disorder. I think that's insane. There are the same thing. Someone thinks that they are a different person. I don't think I'm Aaron. I think I'm this person, right? In the same body. That's schizophrenia. I think I'm this other person. And then someone says, I don't think I'm this gender or this sex. I think I'm a different sex. I was born to be a woman, but I'm in a male body, but I'm trapped in this body. And we say that that's normal. It's both mental issues. So she's 100% right on that again.
Smart as you are and articulate as you are and argue your logic and say the same about you.
That's totally fine.
But that's all based on opinion. And people can look at you and I look at you as fearless because you clearly don't care what people think. You say what you believe in. I mean, there's an amount of respect that person has to have for somebody like you that has that in them, because everybody doesn't, right? And I love that you're not folding, no pun intended, on your position, because that's why I think I wanted to explore what you were thinking. I don't think we're ever going to agree on the trans movement. I'm not in that movement to fight enough for it, so I'm going to move on. What do you think about gay marriage? Should I be able to marry the man of my dreams?
It's funny. I was a huge supporter. Okay, I never understood why people would not support gay marriage, and I guess when did gay marriage be passed? 2008, is that right?
With Obama. And
the conservative argument, because I was not conservative then, was that this is going to be a slippery slope. And if you pass gay marriage, then the next thing you know, you're going to wake up and they're going to be asking for more. And that is how we got to the A of the LGBTQIA. So I can tell you that I believe that as a Christian, that marriage is between a male and a female, a woman and a man. The reason why we even got to this social issue is because marriage never belonged to the government. It should still be with the church. And if it was still with the church, we wouldn't be talking about this and it wouldn't be a debate, because there is a debate to be had for the fact that in America, is it fair that because I'm in a union with a man that I get tax breaks, that there's like marriage tax breaks? No. So if you're going to be two men that are married or living together, you go, why don't I get the tax breaks if we're living together and doing the same thing? And that's why I don't think that issue should have ever been taken out of the church. Actually, I think marriage is an example of government overreach. It's interesting too when you apply that argument. It's one of the reasons that the UK had civil partnerships, or they have civil partnerships, because it would allow so that gay couples were being treated the same under the law as straight couples. And I think that disparity created problems. But as a Catholic, two married men would not be recognized in the Catholic Church. I guess to throw the question at you, what is marriage to you? Because to me, marriage is it's a sacrament, right? So what is marriage to you? Why did you get married?
Well, I'm not married. I'm single. But I mean, like, if I wanted to get married, which I don't know that I want to, it's less about whether or not I should have the right to or not. It's more about if I find somebody that I truly want to build a partnership with, commit to, to allow to have some legal responsibility over my well-being if something was to happen. I have a lot of things in my life that I want to make sure are situated. So it's more about that.
Legal, yeah.
Legal. I feel like anybody who wants to be in love with anybody should be able to be in love with or marry whoever they want. I don't know why people are so involved in other people's affairs.
Yeah, well, I just think it's interesting because if you can literally do what you want and live with somebody and do what you want, why do people aspire to the marriage thing? When you get down to it, it's exactly what you said. It's legal. It's not a sacrament. It has nothing to do with religion. It's just because you get tax breaks, because you want people to be able to decide whether or not you're going to pull the plug when you live or die, and you have to have this legal paperwork in order to do it. And that's why I say that I don't think the institution of marriage should ever left the church. I think it's government overreach.
But do you care about gay marriage?
I think that it has been proven correct that the slope was pretty slippery on that one, because now we're debating children's genders.
Let me use your own argument against the reason why I asked the question, because you use Rachel Dolezal and her desire to be a black woman, which, by the way, I think is just interesting when a white woman wants to be black, because it's hard being black. But I'll throw it to you. I mean, there was a time where your husband would have been killed, or you would have been lynched, dating each other back in the 60s or 50s, right? There's people that would say, well, you let him date your daughter. It's a slippery slope. Next, they're going to want rights. Next, they're going to want to be the president. Hey, Kamala. Right? Wouldn't people have said the same argument? But yet here you are in your fourth child with
so
a white
there
husband.
Would be no biblical basis for miscegenation law. So I'm a Christian first. There is no biblical, there's nothing in the Bible that, it's not, that was just something that America and people were doing like that. So,
in terms of racism.
Like institutional racism was something that the government was doing. Again, government overreach, if it has to be. So yeah, I don't think that would be the same.
But Emmett Till was murdered for looking at a white woman at a time where...
What's the question here? I didn't say that was good.
No, you didn't say it was good, but what I'm saying is racism is an institutional thing in our country, right? Where like...
It was literally laws. Like, there were actual laws on the books, and that's my point. What I'm saying is that when we were talking the marriage issue, I was saying that this is government overreach. Well, so were those laws, right? Because there was absolutely no reason for the government to come and be making those laws, and that's why I am a conservative. I think that the government is over-involved in a lot of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree on one thing. I do feel like, identify as a blue dog Democrat, if people acknowledge what that is, or can go back and I'm fiscally conservative, but I am definitely socially liberal on a lot of things. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your body. I'm not going to tell you who to love. I think the state's taxes are out of control, and I do think our inability to protect ourselves is like slowly going away. No, it's fastly going away. But I look at the state of our world and don't understand how loud the right got, because MAGA is different than being conservative. Would you agree with that?
No, I think MAGA just gave a name to people that were tired of New York and LA deciding on how the rest of America lives. The flyover states. LA, actually what happened was LA and New York got too loud, and they kind of began caricaturing the rest of the nation. Well, if you don't think like us, if you want to live like this, if you just want to be, get married out of high school and love your high school sweetheart for the rest of your life and have children, the rest of the country is living like your grandparents lived. And what happened was Hollywood got a studio and they started really denigrating those sorts of traditional beliefs, which are really beautiful and wonderful. And it's the people that get mocked the most on the media. Like you have a bunch of latte sipping reporters who think that they're the future and that they know how things should work. And
I like lattes.
Exactly. But that's it. And so they started mocking, and they actually had no experience. They've never been to the flyover states. They don't understand how sacred and beautiful it is for people to aspire to. Like when I went to Tennessee, it was like a culture shock. Me being from New York, and it's so wonderful. They literally, where I live, the streets are shut down. There's police officers every 5 feet on Sunday because everyone's going to church. As a social activity, like you guys, let's go get drinks. Let's go to church on Sunday. It's a beautiful thing, and it's all different kinds of churches, and the people. We go to the farmers market. They know who's giving them their food. It's not this grocery store, in an inhumane experience. The farmers. They have different meat. What's in season, and I think it is something that is. There's something about your soul that hits right. And I realize now that I've moved down south how far removed we've become in the cities from that experience. So yeah, I think actually it was the other way. New York and LA got too loud, and then finally the rest of America said, we've been here a very long time. We're kind of tired of being caricatured by the rest of you. We actually don't want to live like you. We don't want to live like Hollywood.
I know you brought up Catholic and being Christian several times, so clearly your faith is important to you.
Yeah.
But you know, these Catholics, they be playing with the kids. Because you talked about the slippery slope. Now, and I ain't going to say the Pope did it, but there's a lot of them running around in those dresses who have touched on kids, and we know that's more than Ash Wednesday. So when we're condemning groups of people, how can you condemn the slippery slope and not talk about your own church that you may go and pray to?
That is just the most insane question. And I get it. This is his show, but that is very insensitive. And it's not, I mean, you know, people that decide to do something like that is not, no one is going to say that's okay. If you ask if you ask a Christian, how do we feel about that? Like, being honest, like I would be so angry. I could probably choke out the guy that does something like that, or a woman. I wouldn't choke out a woman, but I could choke out the guy that does something like that. I mean, we're called to protect our children. We're called to love them. We're called to, you know, so like, that's a dumb question. And there's going to be evil people in every single category. There are people that claim to be Christian that do not know God, that don't love God, that don't follow the commandments. They don't even observe the commandments. They don't care for God, but they claim to be Christian. They're in the church. Jesus said, not everyone who calls me Lord will be saved. He's saying that because there's a lot of people that's going to call him Lord, but don't really know him. He said, you know, he's going to, you know, when you die, he's going to say, I never knew you. Depart from me, you worker of iniquity, you worker of continuous, habitual, sinful nature. That's what iniquity is. And also James says in the book of James, it says that he was saying to certain people, you believe in one God, and that's good. But even the demons believe in one God and they tremble. And so it's not enough to just think that God's real. You have to actually follow what he says. You have to believe in him. Believing in God. Jesus said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. He didn't say if you love me, you would just, you know, tell people that you're a Christian. He said, if you love me, you would keep my commandments. You would try hard to be like me. God says to be holy because I am holy. And so there's going to be people that do not follow the commandments of God, and therefore they're going to live life how they choose to live it, and they're going to allow their desires to overtake them. That's also in the book of James. James said that it starts off with a desire of our hearts, and then when that desire becomes fruitful, it becomes sin. And then when sin is fully grown, it produces death. And so when you follow your own sinful desires, you're going to produce death in your life spiritually and physically. Because when you die, you're not going to be with the Father. You're going to be dead. You're going to be in hell burning. That is not life. But Jesus said, I came to give you life and life more abundantly. And so he said, where I go, you will also be there with me. And where he is, Jesus is forever alive. Okay. If you guys do not believe in Jesus Christ, I encourage y'all to watch YouTube videos like Expedition Bible, where he is someone who lives in the Jordan area, and he goes and proves different things, different events that happened in the Bible. I would encourage you to listen to people like Mike Winger, who is a former pastor, very logical on the word of God. And he could talk to people, and people call or people ask him questions on his YouTube channel, and he responds to those questions biblically. And it consume yourself with the fact that God actually exists, and you will be surprised at all the proofs that are out there. Okay. You will be surprised. Jesus Christ is real. He was a real person. Atheist scholars do not even deny that Jesus was real anymore. They deny that he was God, but they don't deny that he was real, because there's so many different people that wrote about him. There's so many different artifacts and stuff like that. It's real, y'all. It's real. I'm going to finish this last one, and then you guys can actually watch the rest on her TikTok, because this is only like half of the conversation. But I'm already burnt out by watching this one. And I want to give, you guys a chance to go watch it on her page, because she's the one that actually posted it. So let's finish this out, and then you guys can go over to her page.
Let's be very clear. That's just false.
You think so?
I know. I'm saying let me tell you what is false. It is false that I have not spoken about that.
Well, I'm not saying you didn't speak about it. I'm just asking.
Yeah, no. I mean, let's be clear. There's not, to pretend that is restricted to any institution, whether you're talking about schools where it happens, church where it happens, amongst, gay relationships where it happens, or straight relationships where it happens, would be ridiculous. I've never said that. I would never say that. And in terms of the Catholic Church, because I've been on this journey and speaking about history, which is crazy, the media freaked out when I spoke about this really sadistic Frankist movement that took place in the 1700s, where they developed this belief in apostasy, which is to pretend that you're a part of a different religion, and then as a way to overthrow that religion. These people literally were baptized into the Catholic Church. I've spoken about that. And they were a part of a Frankist cult, and they believe this as a sacrament. They believe in murdering children. I've spoken about that on my show. To say that I don't speak about that when I did an entire series on Emmanuel Macron, Catholic wife, whatever you want to call it, is ridiculous. So people just say things like, how come you don't talk about this? I'm like, I do talk about this.
No, I'm not
I've spoken about this extensively, and wherever evil is, I will call it out.
I'm not saying you don't talk about it, because you do talk a lot. What I'm trying to understand in this, and I talk a lot, billions and billions of minutes watch. I'm asking specifically around in this conversation, your theory around that slippery slope, because that was a comment that I heard you make. When I think about the slippery slope, because we probably will agree on this, is I was in a whole debate with one of my friends recently, and he gay as hell. I said, I don't believe drag queens should be reading stories to kids in schools.
Right.
Like, I don't understand how we got there.
Why?
Like,
Why?
drag queens we're
agreeing.
We're agreeing.
Yes, I'm just like, when I say that, it's like, that's something that's such an easy, like, why? Why are we doing that?
Now that to me, those are the things that fuel my frustration with kind of my community, because it's the thing we're giving people to say, look, okay. I am a big youth advocate, and I understand inclusion and people wanting to see themselves. I don't think a kid wants to see themselves as a drag queen. And if you do dress up at home with your family, whatever, and some gay people would be mad at me for saying that, but I do feel like that's the thing where I'm like, why are we doing that?
Why? Yeah, exactly.
Candace Owens did a phenomenal job again in this conversation. A lot of people in the last video were saying that Jason pretty much, did this conversation just to get the clicks. And I think that a lot of that is true, but also, ultimately it did good because Candace Owens clarified a lot of the ways that she thinks. So that if there's someone that absolutely doesn't like Candace Owens, look at this video and I think you might change your answer that she has a pretty stable way of thinking out of all the people that are in her field. A lot of people that I watch that does the commentary that she does are either very far left or very far right. And it seems that she's closer to the middle. Well, that's what I respect about her most. But I think she did a phenomenal job, cooked them. And it just is what it is. She does this well. She does it well. So yeah, man, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I tried to make it as, clarifying as possible, audible as possible. And so go and watch the rest of it on this lady's channel. Respect for her for going ahead and putting it out there, and her link will be in the description. All right. And like I said about the stuff about the faith, if you are someone who is either, hasn't really taken Christ seriously, or you don't really know Christ, I would encourage you to, do some research and pray, man. Just say a prayer. Like, look, Jesus, if you really want to know him, say a prayer to him and he will respond. He responded to so many people, even people in different religions and faiths. You know what I mean? He's responded to them in dreams, visions. He said, I will pour out my spirit on all flesh, and I will give people dreams and visions. And, so if you really want to know Christ, he's always there. God is omnipresent. He's closer than the air you breathe. You just don't know it. And I would encourage you to take that into consideration, because your life depends on it. We are all going to pass away one day. You don't want to pass away if you're not under the grace of God. You don't want to pass away outside of the grace of God. You want to pass away with the confidence in the resurrection of Jesus Christ and the faith that you have in him that will allow you to become a child of God, and it will allow you to become a brother in Christ and to have access to the kingdom of God because of your faith. Not by works, not by the good things you do in this world, but by faith. Okay, so let me know what you guys think about this video in the comment section. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and hit the post notification bell so you do not miss another video. I post tons of videos about Christian topics and current events happening, and I give all of my videos with the Christian perspective. All right, my name is Aaron Page. I'll catch y'all on the next video. Until next time, I'm out.